and Dave Wilson of the Ring and Hire Show. Hey, the life of a recruiter. I have so much here, I don't even know if I'm going to cover it all. But if you're in recruiting, this is the life of a recruiter, in and out every day. Be right back after this. You gotta love those videos. They're real fun to make. You know, you just send your images out and they get really creative. Hey, right, look at that, Mr. Tubia, all the way from Florida. He's already tuning in. How you doing, Tubia? Hope everything's going well in Florida, Miami, Florida. Go figure that, right? Hey, tonight it's the life of a recruiter, and besides like 20 pages, it's a long life, I think, but. I wanted to start off Al Hoagland. There he is. Hey, Al, how's it going, buddy? Another friend down the street there. He's a wild one. Hey, I wanted to talk about this young lady, Kara Fonseca. I'm hoping I pronounced it right. She posted on LinkedIn, and I found it pretty good, just this article that she posted. And I'm going to read it and go from there and see if we can answer it. Recruiters are spending more and more of their time finding passive candidates. These are individuals that are currently working and not seeking a new position. They spend considerable resources finding and wooing people away from their clients' competition. This at a time when the number of unemployed is at one of the highest U.S. history due to a pandemic. While researching for this post, I saw one CEO describing passive candidates as being the best people and the most scalable of finding talent, and she said she strongly disagrees. The stigma of being unemployed needs to stop. I've met so many amazing people that are on the sidelines and would give their best if given the chance. So, companies are missing out on a good generation and candidates. And she's right. I agree with the majority of that, Kara, because yes, there are people. It is great to go after the passive one. I agree. If they're not happy, I think it depends on the job industry, what type of industry that you're recruiting in. But for above entry level, if you want to say positions, yeah, I would go after anyone that's even laid off unemployment, because everybody's got a story. Just because they're laid off doesn't mean you want to pass upon them. There's Kara. Oh, you got it, Kara. It was a great post, and that's why I wanted to start off with it tonight. Is I told you that I agree. You are missing out on a lot of candidates if you use the stigma of unemployment. That's like a bias. You gotta get that out of there. Don't even you have to take your mindset from there and interview the people that are off just as much as a passive job seeker that you're going in to take someone. You gotta, as a recruiter, just stop and think about that, what I just said and that she posted. There's a lot of great talent out there for like recruiting. Everybody says, you need experience recruiting. No, I don't think so. I think anybody in the customer service industry, if they were to call hospitality, anybody like that deals with the public, I'd hire them. It doesn't matter that you don't have 3 years, 5 years. It depends on what type of recruiting, but you can train that person. You can train them. Nobody wants to work until the government made problem. And that's true, Tuvia. And some of those people, you got to look at the other side. Some of the people that are off there is some issues and concerns. They need to be off. They've lost jobs. They're not just going to go on out and work in logistics. Listen, there's 80,000 freaking jobs of logistics out here. Not everybody wants to work there. That's just a fact. People blame it on unemployment. Yes, and hospitality's hurting and everybody, but it's not all about that. Look at the skill set, and if you can train that person, if you have that, if you're a good recruiter, within 2 weeks, you could really set up somebody by giving them the skills to be a recruiter and really, on entry level positions right there, and really find a good person to work for. Tara says, I hate to see talent not even get a chance. And you're correct, Tara. The candidates that some of them call me say, well, they think they got the job. They admit about 50%. All right. If you find a candidate right now, that's 50 to 60% qualified, and if you're thinking to yourself saying, well, we're looking for somebody that's more qualified. Listen, it's like a scale. This is what you want, and this is where you're at. But if it's just like that. You need to teach the person, train them, and you're gonna have that other candidate there for you. So you don't want to back out of it. Just because, even when I look for hire a recruiter, doesn't mean just because they don't have a lot of experience, take a chance. Because I always say, how's it working for you now? Because it's probably not the way things are going out there. And the government is paying too much. And it is. I mean, Tubi, we all know that. And again, on the opposite side of it, there are people that have really issues for being out. I mean, between childcare, one of the significant others have lost their job, the other one hasn't. There's a lot into it. It's not all people that want to return to work. That's just too broad. It's too much to think like that, to say everybody that's not working should be working. You don't know that. None of us can sit there. You can't. That's a bias. Again, that's just total bias of the worker. Is there any more openness for laid off people now than in the previous recessions? Yeah, there is. I mean, there's a lot more now candidates out there that I see that I would hire in a heartbeat. The ones that you send to a client, listen, if you know what you're doing in recruiting, you feel a really good fit. But if you don't sell yourself kind of to the client the same way that you talk to the recruiter, there can be that mismatch. Because if we send somebody, there's a reason why we send them. We see in recruiting, it's just a sense. You look at their job records, their history, and what their college, school experience, doesn't matter. And you can make that decision from there. I saw a business advertise weekly stimulus checks. Yeah, there is some companies that right now are offering $300 a week to come back to work for 4 weeks. That's what it is. I mean, there's nothing to it, I mean, they want to get you back. But I want to cautious everybody, and I really look at the insights and in the Lehigh Valley here, and you could take away the $300 stimulus, and if you think it's just going to change the world, it's not. You got a long, long summer coming, one of the worst peak seasons that you ever can imagine. It's like a tidal wave, the tsunami. It's coming. This is nothing. Come August, September, when we're preparing for the peak season with Christmas, oh man, I'll tell you what, specific skill sets does not translate into a good fit. You have to look at the whole person, but job posts have long lists and software knowledge, technical skills to weed out. And I'm going to bring that up, Kara. That's one of the discussions here. But the life of a computer recruiter, God, what do they do all day, right? I've been there, done it. And for those, it's not just conducting phone interviews, resume reviews, scheduling interviews, preparing candidates for interviews, collaborating with the hiring managers, extending offers, all that, right? It's not all like that. There's so much that goes on in an office for the recruiters, for the branch, that they do so much administrative work. I wish some of the management, higher up management at the branch levels, they would see this, and they know it. The VPs of a staffing company know the problems, but they just can't do anything about it. That they're in a tight spot right there because they're not giving the advice to the recruiters of what to do besides, hey, find people. But when you put all the office, now I'm sticking up for recruiters here too, but when you're putting all the administrative work on them, plus all the reports, right? There's a lot of reports that you got to run, plus the payroll, client issues. Let me tell you, when you got like 15 clients and they come calling in on a Monday, everybody hates Mondays. They had report staff in the logistics fields for high turnovers, no shows. Then all of a sudden your day's going half decent, and then somebody gets injured, for God's sake. Somebody gets injured, you have to leave, you have to go over to the site. There's your whole day. That's one recruiter gone. So it's not just doing all of these duties, it's on top of it everything else, and that just takes you time that you don't have. My suggestion, listen, some people just cut jobs. They said, well, we can't afford a receptionist, we can't afford this, that. You can't afford not to have it. I'm sorry. When you're working in that industry, in that branch, when you get all these recruiters working, you know what needs to be done. But again, VPs have a hard time getting that message back into the branch, and everybody just suffers. Everybody's just like, well, there's no candidates, let's not do anything. They don't give them the tools to understand what to do. And that's kind of some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Was this was a good one right here. Dealing with stress, right? Recruiting, stressful job, right? Racing against the clock, beating out the competition, balancing the candidate's needs, clients' demands. Lead sorts of all difficulties for recruiters, even successful ones. Recruiters pick up some bad habits to deal with stress. Others lose sleep, grind their teeth, and numb with migraine headaches. They burn themselves out. Their career fizzles. That right there is the life of a computer. Yeah, computer. I keep saying that. Jesus, recruiter. But think about it. That is the life of a recruiter right there. All of that. When the lows hit, but when the highs, the great thing about it is when you hire someone, when you've changed their life, on a positive note, when you've called them and offered them the job, they're excited. The relief from the candidate, they leave you good reviews. That's priceless. That overtakes all the negative, because you can have a bad day, and then the next day it can be very, very rewarding on that part. Unfortunately, people will generally default to the easiest solution. That's, again, perfect what you said right there. And I believe a lot of that is in the recruiting world, like on Fridays. Let's just say the company's asking for 25, 50 candidates. On Friday, they call you up. Hey, we need 50 people by Monday. 3 hours left. You've been there. You've done it. You sit there and you're like, okay. Start making phone calls. You get some candidates, but they're not going to show in a way. But you found some. You're going to send to the clients, hey, we got 10, maybe 2 show up. That's just the nature of it. People leave their jobs on the weekends. So when your recruiters come in on Mondays have got to be the worst days ever in staffing. I'm sorry, because you're going to have all those clients calling you, where's everybody out? You're going to have your VPs, your managers saying, what's going on? Why aren't we getting the work done? Why aren't we need 75 people. What's everybody doing? The phones are ringing. That's the life of a recruiter. And they, this one part here I really liked. How do you say this? Okay, so the companies require testing, okay, for, let's just say, customer service on computer testing, right? And typing assessment, and they send it out, and all of a sudden they pass it, right? You get that candidate comes in, and they don't have the skills that they passed the test. So clients got smart, and they sent it off to a third party to be able to provide testing. So that way they know who's taking that test, because it can take so long to find a candidate, and then they didn't really know what the job was, and they either had somebody take it for them, and that's how it usually works. But with a third party, they were able to do that. But what I've said before, what I like about the video resume screening with Duckanow is one good function of it is when you're taking your skill assessment test, if you just Google, right, red. If you're looking at your cell phone, it's actually taking a picture of you every few seconds like this. So that way, if you drift off, if you try to do something, they know it's not you. You can't, it takes a picture of your face and they can tell if somebody else is sitting there. But that makes a lot of sense when you're trying to find the people like that. Wow, even this time people are no show to interviews. Yes, that, you hear a lot of people talk about recruiters and saying they ghosted them. They didn't call them back. They didn't email. But on the turn point of that is it goes both ways. It goes both for the candidate and the hiring manager. Human resources, I've said it numerous times, does not belong in staffing. They are not recruiters. They're human resources. They take care of humans. Seriously. They didn't go to college to be a recruiter. And I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong being a recruiter, but human resources needs to work on human problems. And I stick up for HR. They do not deserve to be in that field because that just takes them away from everybody else that they should be doing their jobs. But yet everybody's got to go after that HR director to get a sale and to say, hey, then you got the HR director calling you, wow, where's everybody at? They're stressed, you're stressed, everybody's stressed. They're the kind of things little things that can take that HR director out of there. Definitely separate functions. I agree. That's just totally there. But HR out. They need to be out of it. It'll really help your retention. Let the HR director come out on the floor, find out what's going on. This one here, can you imagine if you were able to give this was one question, if you could to give a lie detector test as a recruiter to provide to candidates. Woo! I don't know. Can you imagine that? Because that leads into what Kara said about job boards, job postings. Listen, keywords are great. You got to have the keywords. I understand it. You need to really have all those keywords in there. But what a lot of people do is they know that. So they'll make up resumes for each individual job. And I get it. You can, if you got a lot of experience in different fields, I could see you doing that. But can you imagine adding a lie detector test? Woo! That would be a hell of a thing, huh? But they were saying they put the job post up there when they know somebody else is getting hired, going to get that job in the position within the company. But yet they have to post the job to make everybody happy. Now, I know they do it. Trust me, they do it. You have to. You have to post that job. If you know you are hiring the person, promoting them on the inside, majority of the people post that job knowing that they're not even going to need to fill it. So now what you did is you get a lot of pissed off people. They don't know what you're doing, but you're turning down all these people. You're wasting all your time to do that, all your interviewing, right? The only good thing about doing that is building your pool, your talent pool. But don't post jobs that you don't have. Don't. It doesn't make sense because it only just adds to the rat race of everybody around it, right? Because nobody's paying attention. You're putting on a job. Some of these jobs, let me tell you, for entry-level jobs, Jesus, Lord, I mean, 5 years experience, 2 to 3 years experience, offering low salaries. They want to get the lower, damn. Keep the job postings kind of simple, but reality, kind of like reality. Like you make this job sound like it's, Lord, then the hiring process between going to a website, that's what you have post the job to say, go to the website to apply. By the time he gets back to the recruiter, right? If they're out a day or two, forget it, right? And then by the time you get back to the candidate to find out they're not qualified or they are, you're screwed. You just wasted an hour of your day, all because of that. It's a waste of time. Make the job descriptions fit the job. Simple. It's not that hard, but everybody sometimes puts those 2 long pages, and it's not the truth. It's some of the jobs I read it. I'm like, whoa, what the hell's that word? I don't even know what some of the words are. But they utilize that to pick up some stuff off of people's resumes, and that's how it happens sometimes. The reviews. Listen, I know people, it's a tough one. People with reviews, I say so much waste time and it makes it hard to trust. Well, you're right on the ball tonight, Kara. Reviews are tough. You need reviews. You do. You got to I always look at the reviews, but I look at it on both sides, of a staffing company. Oh, there he is. Hey, Mr. Stephen Farrell, one of the greatest recruiters of all time in Utah. Like, he's worked his way up there, but he's the man right there. If you need 500 people out in a cornfield, Steve's the one you want to reach in Utah. But pay attention to your reviews. I know people say, oh, that's all negative on the staffing industry. Listen, the staffing industry has a bad rap. When you say staffing industry, everybody thinks, they're out to get you, or they're just going to, not tell the truth. Some of those staffing companies don't know. Kara, we're ready. You're going to be coming on the show next week. Yes. But the reviews, so look at them. If you saw 5 reviews right in a row that said the receptionist was rude, as simple as that sounds, they weren't organized, you still need to respond to them, because staffing agencies do get a bad rap. They do. But you got to make something positive about it. Make the experience, especially now, make the experience really, really stand out. When that person walks in that door, when they come down, smile. When they ask them how their day was, can we help you? What can we do it with? That person comes in. I always looked at it this way. When I was at the branch, I would sit out in the chairs where we had all the people, candidates. I would just sit there. And they wondered why. The reason I did that, because I would sit there and I'd say, would I want my wife to sit in this chair and look what's going on? That's why I did it. Would I want my wife to sit here? And I looked around, see what was going on, what's on the walls, what's over here, what people are doing. Would I want? That's why I did it. If I seen something crooked, if I seen something that would look better over here, make it a candidate's experience. Treat them like gold. This recruiting style right now is going to be here. Ain't going away. It's going to stay to remain for the rest of the year. Great leadership, Dave. Nope, Steve, you got the cows out in that field, but he's a good man. Anybody needs to connect with Steve. He can really help and carry everybody on here in Tuvia. And they're all great colleagues to talk to. But let's see what this next one is. I like this. We talked about the jobs. All right. Recruiters Makeup segment. Here's some suggestions to deal with stress. Steve would love this. As a recruiter, and I agree with some of these things, eat properly. Don't go to Wawa every lunch break. That always happens. Take your breaks during the day. If I rewound it sometimes, I say it, but I don't. Take the breaks. Walk outside. Breathe. Go out in your car. Listen to the radio. iPods, whatever you want to do. Just listen to them. Know when to walk away from a situation that's going to get heated and learn to say no. I know it's hard to do. Walk away. Take a breath as a recruiter. You did something wrong maybe, or made a mistake, or the candidate really made a mistake and you were telling your manager that we got the candidate, the client's going to be happy, and then boom, something happens. That's right. Say this guy ain't joking, man. He can tell you what he's eating, all the time, but it's true. Avoid perfectionism and be pragmatic. That also goes a long way. And connect with others on LinkedIn, social media, other recruiters. Join some groups. Listen, if it wasn't for the colleagues that I have come on this show, the value of, I'm always laughing, but they're great colleagues. The value that you can learn from them is priceless. Everything I learned from Steve, Tuvia, everybody, those guys know what they're doing. We each have our niche. And if you can learn from that other person, why not? Try something different. Listen, Steve's out there at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you're not trying to pivot right now as recruiters, and I'm giving you credit, listen, recruiting sometimes sucks. Woo! I swear to God, when I born, I didn't say I wanted to be a recruiter, because it can be freaking challenging and stressful. Because remember, I look at it this way, it's just as stressful on the candidate as it sometimes is the recruiter. Because when you build that relationship between both of you, right, and within that maybe 2 or 3 days, and then you got to say no. That's a tough pill sometimes. That's some recruiters don't want to make that call. And that's sometimes why both, you got the candidate calling in, did I get the job, or any updates. If you wait, listen, if you wait over a week or two to find that perfect candidate, they're going to walk. The majority of the times, you can't wait for that hiring manager. If that hiring manager is out for 3 to 4 days, you better find somebody in that company that can step up and hire that person if they need to. Alexander, encouragement is needed of candidates, honesty without hostility. And Alexander, I want to answer to that. The encouragement, what I think of that when you said that right there is about being honest, is when you have candidates come into your office, your branch, right? If it's a temp to perm job, let's just say temp to perm, let's go with that. And you're telling that person it's a temp to perm, but in your head, you know the clients, you're going to be like, oh, it's not going to happen. But you know what? I'm going to fill the job anyway because I'm going to be relieved. My boss is going to be off my back. Fill the job. I am good for 60 days. That's some of the problems, because you got to be honest with the candidate, because it's going to backfire on you. It's going to come right back at you because you made a mistake by not being honest. You're going to get caught with it. And then you got to be the explain of, oh, well, must be the company. They did something. Again, in trying times like this, treat the candidate with honesty and don't get upset if some of the recruiters are like, well, they didn't call me. That's it. They'll wait 2-3 days. Well, they didn't call me. You move on to something else. Write it down and build that pool. Just like the candidate. If you were being honest with them and say temp to perm and they didn't want it, that's okay. Say, listen, I have all your information, but really, if it's a strong candidate, save it in your little file. That's why I just save it in your little file, because the most important thing is, I believe in, is kind of like the funnel of the recruiting funnel. You got that prospects, talent right there. You're ready to go. Candidates, your finalists, and then your hires. It's an awesome feeling when you build that funnel. But if you don't keep that funnel full, forget it. And the way I say that is I don't want to sound like management, because that's the way they make it sound. But save 10 to 15 people that stick out and just write it on a note, write it on your notes. Because within 3 or 4 weeks, some of the companies just open something up, and then you're going to be like, whew, I know the ATSs and all that, but listen, I would always write down candidates on a board. Always. I'd be like, listen, they might be working, but when something else comes up that they were looking for, right? That is where you can reach out and grab that person. And that's the best thing to do. Hey, Rob, here he is. Rob, how are you today? Well, we won't go there. That's just something between us there. But, when somebody calls, this is another thing about ghosting that I wanted to bring up. It's on both. If they call you and you return a call 80% of the time, they're going to call you back. So if you try to make it like 8 out of 10 people you're going to call, you'll get a call back. The majority of the time. I know people make excuses right now. Well, it's COVID. We're short-staffed. You know what? Keep saying that. Just continue to keep saying there's no staff. Oh, we can't fill the orders. They're out there. And I say it in a positive way, because if you're thinking negative all the time, right? You are thinking negative. Talk to your manager in HR and say, what do you want us to do? Every time in social media, well, we can't do this, you can't do that, you won't let them do a video. For God's sake, let the person do a video of the job, and you'd be surprised what video brings out. Listen, I look at this little dot all the time, right? Do you trust me? Do you know me? That's the power of videos. So when you're trying to sell, the recruiter is giving you advice. The recruiter knows. See, a lot of the recruiters know the problems. They do. Your team knows the problems. But if you're in the management, if you're going up to branch manager and you're going up to your VP level and above, they kind of push it sometimes. Sometimes, not all companies. So sometimes they push it underneath. They don't have an answer what to do. Now, you'll give it to them, but then they say no. The most common thing that recruiters, when you give an idea, nope, corporate says no. Wow. that was friggin' quick. Nope, can't make a video. Why? Oh, corporate said no. You didn't even friggin' think about it. You need to send an email to your boss. Copy the recruiter on that email and see what the boss says. Right? Then at least the recruiter can sit back and say, well, I had my ideas, but they said no. And Kara says the industry is desperately in need of all innovative ideas like that. Yes, you got to learn to pivot. Again, I hate saying that at a time, but when you're interviewing in person, take your time anymore. Don't listen. A company can call and say, I need 100 people. Good friggin' luck with that. Well, we need 500 people. Good friggin' luck with that. Because you're not at the same rate you're doing it, the same stuff I see on social media and some of the jobs, you're not going to fill those jobs. And these next couple months, here I go. These next couple months, you're going to be paying $22 to $25 an hour. Guarantee you during peak season. You're going to see 25. I'm even going to take it up a little bit, 27, with these huge bonuses because they're going to say to you, it's Christmas time. It's the holiday season. How would you like a holiday bonus? How would you like a sign-on bonus? How would you like a referral bonus? How would you like us to give you a bonus just to come to work? You get what I'm saying? And plus, the stimulus, everybody's going to be getting $300 a month for the rest of the year for each child. How about that? How's that sound? Because let me tell you, it's going to get tougher and tougher. Too many squares fit in a circle. You got some great things to talk about there. But just call the people back. Call the recruiters, call your candidates, call them. If it's over a day, write yourself a little note there. And there is some good recruiters that follow up to a T. This isn't about all. This is actually to explain to people what a recruiter goes through, because you can tell I get all worked up because recruiting is like I said again, the most rewarding part is just that part that you've helped someone find a job and you've changed their life. And they'll remember you that for all the time, just that you keep satisfied there. A lot of on the interviews, people talk about the money first. Again, if you start out with, if your first question when you're recruiting, if the candidate says, well, how much of an hour is it? Or what's it pay? I would never answer that not the first question. If somebody's doing that on a call because they haven't done the research of it, they're not really probably going to want to work for you, because you need to start out with a job. Give your elevator speech. Give 30 seconds. Talk about yourself. Then ask the candidate to talk about himself. Let them talk. That works sometimes, because let them put it all out there. Let them in. They'll talk, and then you're going to be like, okay, now you start selling little bits and pieces of the job, and then you just, right at the end of your first interview, you'd always want to talk in reality at the end. Everybody knows it. You want to say to them, hey, what is your salary expectations? And that's a hard question for some people, because you don't know what to say, but you kind of know what you're worth. So if you're looking for 75, 80, if you're looking for 50,000 a year, right? And what shift, put it out there. Put it right out there and be honest with them. This is what I want. Simple. Call me if this is what you can provide me. I don't want to be called for $10,000 less, excuse me, $15,000 less. I don't want that. I want this salary range. Let me do the interview, sell myself, and I appreciate it, and work with the recruiter, because you'll get that bond with the recruiter. You really will. And they'll never forget you. Let's see. Sell the next step, not the job. I talked about that. Get the candidates to sell you. Again, we talked about that. And I am almost done. I think I've went over everything I wanted to. So on closing, remember, recruiters are good people. Recruiters want to help you. Are there some bad recruiters? Yes. Are there ones that don't tell the truth? Yes. Are there ones that do tell the truth? Yes. Are there ones with new ideas? Yes. It's all about stepping outside the bounds in recruiting and trying something different. So in closing, don't say no to the people that do the job. Don't say no right away. If somebody comes up with an idea, okay, let me think about it and I'm going to get back with you. Then sit back and think about it. Don't just say no right away, because that can take a recruiter. They're so high. So right after that, you get them so high, they're so high and they're ready to help, So take the advice of the people that do the job. Thanks, Kara. Appreciate it. And thanks for coming on. We'll be talking next week. But again, pivot, new ideas, video resume screening, social media to a T. When you ask Steve, when you do social media on steroids, not just posting the job, everything behind the job, videos will be this is it. I'm done. Videos will be your number one way to recruit your staffing on any position. Manufacturing, show a video. A lot of people don't even know what manufacturing is. The rewards of manufacturing. Talk about it, discuss it, train. Don't look at one candidate and say, wow, they're not experienced. If you can train them, hire them. They have a great work record, hire them. You can always train software. It's not that hard. Have a training class. I know a lot of these things, everybody says, that's not going to work. Why not? I saw a company today that offers so much educational value for classes that you can take for free. All a list. I'm telling you, I'm thinking, why are they offering all that? Man, you would want to leave, but that's okay. What a way to draw candidates in to teach them something that they don't know how to do. Something that they're willing to come to work every single day. When you interview that candidate and you're looking at them and that person's saying to you, can you please help me? I need help finding a job. You know they have a great past record. They might not be, again, only 50%, but I'm telling you, take that chance when you go to your hiring manager. It's your responsibility and your sell to the hiring manager. And if that hiring manager does not get back to you within 2 to 3 days, as a recruiter, you need to stay on that hiring manager, because if not, they're gone. You lost a good candidate because of 3 days of the hiring manager not giving you a decision and not listening to the recruiter. It comes down to that. So everybody, thanks so much for being on the show tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow night. Always have some great subjects, and we will talk to you then.